Right, welcome everybody to another episode of Chris and Dave's Reality TV Cast. I'm one of your hosts, Chris, and my co-host and very good friend is Dave.
Hey there, Chris, and hello to our listeners out there. Welcome to Chris and Dave's Reality TV Cast. We are covering Love is Blind Season 4, Episode 5, Chris. Now, where would you like to start today?
Well, Dave, I think we should do what we've been doing and just go couple by couple. I know in the episode, there's different things going, and when we've stuck to that better in the last few episodes, just doing it like that. So I want to start, Dave, with Chelsea and Kwame. So I'm going to contradict myself as we talk about this couple, but initially, Chelsea's like laying down the law to Kwame about his, discussion with Mika. Mika, let's get it right, Dave. It's Mika. And I think she's right what she's saying to him about how he handled it was wrong. Obviously, there was alcohol involved, which I'm a fan of on these shows, definitely, because it brings out that little sneaky side to everyone. But I do think she was completely right to lay into him. And I did like Kwame's apology. He was like, sincere. He was like, I'm sorry, I was disrespectful, blah, blah, blah. And I was happy, Dave, and I thought, right, great. You have not been a fan of Chelsea as such. You've not necessarily a fan, but you threw a few things in there about her, and I was like, not really see it. However, I do believe I'm coming round to the leader of the Castlemorians now, Dave, because by the end of this episode, she's a fucking bellend, my friend. But at the start of it, I thought that was right the way she spoke to him, but she's too intense for me, completely too intense, and demanding too much of him too soon.
Interesting, because I think I'm not saying that Kwame handled it correctly, because he didn't. And I do think Chelsea's right to pull him up.
Yes, I do,
But I think she just goes too far over the line. She's just like, no, shut that down. You get your apology, and then that's it. Walk away.
Yeah.
It's like, all right. Are you telling me who I can speak to now? It's like, wow, that escalated quickly. I just think there are these little signs, and it's one of those, it's not one specific thing where you just think, oh, wow, that massive thing, paints a picture of her as how she is. It's all these little things. And I just think, just way too intense. And I think Kwame will end up with no friends and not able to speak to anyone if that carries on unchecked. And I think initially, I thought he did a horrible job as well, to be honest, of apologizing. And when she basically said to him, did you get closure? And he's like, well, not fully. I'm like, oh, you fucking bellend. So again, I'm in neither fucking corner, because I said it, I think Kwame's gone into this relationship to like basically stay on the show. Clearly he had feelings for Mika, and he didn't really resolve those before he just jumped in with Chelsea. But Chelsea's like all in, all her eggs are in his basket, and there's just that imbalance there. But after that fuck up, I thought his apology was much better. He kind of had time to process what had happened, I guess. And then, he said he thought he could have done better. He could have handled it differently. And then, so I thought from there, he did a much better job. But then again, I think Chelsea sort of remained at that intense level. And what I was saying about the no friends or anything, I mean, we're just getting the edited bits. But you get Irina and Micah talking, don't you, and saying, Kwame's intentionally distant. He's staying away. So you're already seeing that kind of adjusted behavior, and there's something that just doesn't sit right with me on it.
No, there isn't. I'm with you. I think remember Melissa won it on maths when Josh, it all came out, didn't it? And she was like, you're not speaking to anybody. I think that's where we're going. You've hit the nail on the head for me, Dave. It's opened my eyes watching this, because like you say, I've said it a minute ago, I was sort of in her corner for the way she approached it. She's very direct. She doesn't stand any messing, which I respect. I wish that through my life I was more direct with people. Even now, I feel like I'm more direct, but sometimes I'm not. And when someone's like that, it's great. However, there's ways to deliver that directness, and that's just too intense for me. And like you've hit the nail on the head. There's just something off about it. But I did think there's a couple of people in this sort of around their relationship. The Mika thing, again, very strange. I mean, like you say, she mentioned about, he's a bit distant, blah, blah, blah. Why is she bothered? If she's with Paul, why is she bothered about how this is going? They were all sort of bitching and moaning about Chelsea. Again, it's like, well, just leave them be. Let them do their thing. You do you. And then Jacqueline was there. Dave, she was slating Chelsea in the last episode, but the next minute, because it was Chelsea, Jacqueline, and Tiffany, they're slagging Mika off. And I'm like, what's going on? So
I am not liking Jacqueline, I have to say. There was that bit. The comment I really didn't like is when she sat there talking to Mika, and Tiffany was there as well, wasn't she? And she was saying like, I'm pretty sure if she wanted your man, she'd have had him. Really giving it fucking the full-on bitchiness. And then, like you say, she just changes completely after. But I think, if we scooch on over to them two, so Jacqueline and Marshall, there's something off for me about Jacqueline. And, she sat there talking to the camera, and she's saying like, "Oh yeah, there's my little dumbass."
Yeah,
I'm like, well, that's not a good sign. And then he sort of splashes her in a playful way, and she shoots him a fucking death stare. It was just for a split second, but she really looked at him as if to say like, "You fucking prick." I thought, oh, the mask slipped a bit there, hasn't it? So I don't think she's into him at all. And obviously we see a little bit of a preview of what's going to come up in the next episode, and Josh is back on the scene. But yeah, even before that, in that moment, I thought, oh, you're not actually into him at all. You're just playing up for the cameras.
Yeah, and I thought her dialogue, I know we'll talk about Irina and Zach, but when she was talking about Irina and Zach, and she's like, Chelsea said she don't like Zach, and Kwame's like, well, he's a friend of mine. And then Jacqueline called, I'm quoting now, Jack is a weirdo and Irina is a peasant. And I'm like, that's very, very, very strong things to say, because I've not seen anything about Zach I thought was untoward. I don't know if you have, Dave, but I just thought, why are you so invested in these other people? And then she was like saying, "Oh, I'm crazy. We're crazy together." I think Marshall is a good guy. From what we've seen, I've not seen anything untoward to question his character, Dave. But I agree. I think Jacqueline, the mask is slipping, as you've just said, and I think as this goes on, she's this thing I can't get out what she said about. I don't want to go back to being that other person. And I'm like, well, has there been some sort of psychological profiles? Are you on the right platform to be doing this if you're not in the right mental state? These shows can make or break people, can't they? We've seen that. And as this has gone on, I'm like thinking she's got a lot of baggies there that she's not dealt with. And I don't, this is not the show for her, Dave. Again, it's a fake relationship. She's in it for, how many episodes she can get, and the Instagram life, I think, because I'm not buying any of it.
No, but I have to say, mostly Marshall, I think, has been coming across as a good guy, but I'm not ruling out that he's a fake nice guy as well.
Potentially,
there was the moment in the pods where he just snapped when things weren't going the way he wanted, and I really didn't like the way he came across there. So. But it looks like in the next episode, we'll probably get to see whether that theory is correct. So, bit of drama. But again, it's fucking great for the show. I said the last episode was my favorite, Chris. This one has topped it.
Yeah, I like it as well.
It's better. So it is starting to really ramp up a bit, and I'm interested to see where Jacqueline, Marshall, and Josh, where that whole thing goes. But yeah, I thought the thing is what she was saying about what Jacqueline was saying about Irina being a peasant. from what we've seen, I mean, it's not a word that I'd choose to use, but she's obviously communicating that she's off in some way. And it's like, well, I can't really argue with what she's sort of saying there. And I think Zach, he just comes across a little bit awkward, doesn't he? Like when him and Irina met and he was just like really intensely staring at her in quite a creepy way. I think there's just something a little bit off about him. And I think Jacqueline is putting it in a slightly unkind way, but I think that's what she's sort of getting at. But I mean, Chris, what do you reckon to Irina and Zach then?
Fucking waste of my time, Dave. They are a joke. I've not seen any of this with Zach, so I maybe it's just not because I don't like Irina. Maybe I'm just being a bit too biased towards Irina, but she's doing my head in like the whole episode, and I'm glad that there was this proper direct conversation. So much so that Zach was sort of laying into. I mean, she lay there in the bed, and he's like, "What is the point? This is going nowhere. Let's just call it." And I'm like, great, because she'd had a bit of dialogue with Paul. She really likes Paul. Mika's a friend, but she didn't seem to care. She's rubbing his face. And I thought you were going to be like, clean shaven, this sort of young looking lad. And I don't think he's not that old, you know what I mean? But it was, she, even though they're friends, she is very, very direct with Paul. And there is something there between her and Paul, definitely. I know we see the VT for the next episode. It looks like she lays it on the line to Mika, but I don't know, Dave. She's not been in it. She's a blagger. And even he said, like, from the minute I saw you, and she said the same to it, from the minute I saw you, I was like, and he's like, yeah, I've been thinking of Bliss. So I like the fact that it got to this conversation that basically he said, like, well, we just share a bed and we're like miles apart. And she's like, yeah, like a married couple sort of thing. She's like, well, I quite like that, like laughing. But it is, I like the honesty for once in these reality shows. They actually, I think this was already sorted out, Dave. I don't believe this was organically a conversation, but I'm like the fact that, because Zach wouldn't let it go. He just started throwing things he didn't like about her. Then she's the same. I was like, well, fair enough. They were laughing, brushing teeth. See you later. So, what did you think of that, Dave? Because I like that honesty, I must admit.
Yeah, I was glad they called it rather than dragging it out anymore.
Yeah, Harrison Bronte. Yeah.
Oh no, yeah. Oh God, yeah. I just thought it was so set up. Like you say, it was probably all discussed before, but the setup for the scene. Right, he's sat at one side of the bed, like in a dressing gown. She's in a dressing gown. Chris, there is no doubt what Irina thinks her best assets are. Let me put it that way.
I was getting worried, Dave. Yeah, I'm not looking. I wasn't looking. But
if a woman's sort of laying down in a dressing gown like that, it's unlikely you're going to stay in there. But she sort of lay there showing her boobs off again, and like it's like, oh, that's not that. But the giveaway, Chris, was the perfect makeup. Like she's making out like she just got out of the shower, but her fucking makeup's perfect. Like, but yeah, I did appreciate the conversation and the fact that it kind of broke the ice, and like you say, they were sort of laughing, but I don't honestly see these being friends at all. And there is something that rubs them up the wrong way. I mean, she said she doesn't even want to fucking sit next to him on the plane. I mean, there's obviously a lot more that's gone on off camera as well. But I think let me try and be objective for a moment and step over to Irina's camp for a second, because I don't think Zach does himself any favors, because he's kind of trying to psychoanalyze her and doesn't let her finish what she's fucking saying half the time.
Yeah.
So she starts, when she actually does start to say something, and he'll say, oh, yeah, well, I think because of this, this, and this. And it's like, well, just let her fucking say what she actually thinks. The reality is, as soon as that fucking blind went up, she saw him and was out.
Yes.
That is the truth of it. The other thing is, his judgment of character is clearly fucking horrible, because you could see it in the pods that she wasn't being authentic at all, and he fucking bet on the wrong horse there. But I didn't expect, in the series that we'd have this meeting with Bliss. But again, I think some of that awkwardness, is it just me? I mean, if you're going to arrange a meetup with someone and basically lay it on the line, say, you've made a mistake, would you really put a fucking full suit on?
Yeah, I know. But the thing is, his delivery was like, yeah, I've messed up, Bliss. I really want you. And she's just like, fuck off. You should have picked me from the start. That's, you know what I mean? His delivery was just sort of like, oh, well, now I don't want Irina. I'd like you. And she's just looking at us and say, okay, mate. Yeah, no problem. I don't know whether they do get together, but it was strange, Dave, wasn't it? It was very strange for a coffee, that whole interaction for me. And she was not happy with him at all.
I'd be surprised if she opens that door. And maybe he's just used to donning the suit because he is a lawyer after all, isn't he? So
yeah,
it's like going in to present his case, on here are all the reasons. But I don't know. Let's see. But Chris, I mean, we sort of touched on Micah and Paul a bit there. I mean, they did a bit of go-karting, and you see a little bit of affection between those, but I don't buy anything between them at all. I mean, when they're doing the go-karting and stuff, you can see he's well into it and she's totally not.
Yeah.
And he's not really picking up on it. And I must admit, it was cool. I've been in one of those little caves with the water and stuff in Mexico. It's absolutely fantastic. But I just don't really see any proper chemistry between them. So we're going to have this weird situation, it seems, that with Micah and Paul. I don't think the bond is that strong. So I think, it's going to be explored a bit more with Micah and Kwame, but also Paul and Irina. So I think, Chris, it's getting messier and messier this season. I'm kind of loving it.
Yeah, I am, because everybody wants somebody else, don't they? I'm with you. There's nothing between these two. There is a connection between Mika and Kwame. Whatever we think, when they're together, they're always smiling, Dave. I'm not a fan of Mika at all. I don't really like her, but when she's with Kwame, there is a flirtiness to him. There seems like chemistry. They're relevant partners, Paul and Chelsea. They're not even in the conversation. And I think what it is at the moment is Kwame's worried that if he does say he really likes Mika, that it's gonna I'd be worried about going to sleep, Dave. I think I'd have one eye open if I'm being honest with Chelsea.
Hell.
Fucking telling
Lock
you,
your pets away.
Fucking John Wayne Bobbitt. I'm telling you. But with Paul, I don't think he'd care if she turned around and said it. I know we get a VT for the next episode, and we see the families and engaged, but then we're getting this little preview that one of her friends is like, it's not for you, and it's like, have you never seen shows like The Bachelor? Have you never seen these things? They've got to go through it to the end. You do know that, don't you? For the reunion and for their reality TV careers, there is a whole load of things waiting for them at the end of it. So they've got to go through this Jeopardy thing, haven't they? So I'm with you. Waste of time. Gotta say, Dave, it would be an absolute classic if about 3 of the couples all swap partners. That'd be brilliant for the process.
Yeah, but I tell you what, one couple that won't be swapping, Chris, Brett and Tiffany. I think these reality dating shows code, they took their relationship to the next level. They've been shagging. They can't say that. But yeah, I see them as quite solid. I mean, they are. I think we're going to have to call it like the Ollie and Tani Award or something, aren't we? It's just, they're the sacrificial couple. They're the couple who kind of validate the show and don't seem to be having any wobbles at all.
No wobbles, and I completely agree. And, great for them. They seem really happy together. But the preview for the next episode looks like this sort of wedding, or maybe it's for the last episode, but there's a bit of something going on there, a bit of questioning, because Tiffany's crying. Brett says, like, we shouldn't be in this situation and whatever. And I'm like, what the hell's going on? So again, David, I'm like, you wankers. I was genuinely thinking this is going to be terrible, and I'm in now. We're 5 episodes in, and it's got me big time because I'm invested in the characters and this absolute as you said, the fucking mess with these couples is what we need. It is what we need. We've got to face up to it, Dave. None of the normal stuff works. Brett and Tiffany, nobody cares. We'll only care about them when their relationship's falling apart, because we can be pair of horrible bastards and talk about it when really we should be celebrating it. So yeah, I cannot wait for episode 6 now.
Yeah. No, it's just gotten stronger and stronger this season, hasn't it? So yeah, I'm keen to record, and then I can watch the next episode now.
Me too. So anything else, Dave, before we go?
No, I think that's just about it. I think it's going to be interesting to get into the next episode. And like I say, you kind of feel like, well, if you split up with your couple, that's it. You should fuck off and leave the show. But it seems like that's not how it works, because they want to keep them in, have them fucking up some of the other couples. So yeah, that's what I'm like. It does seem like they've got this. I'm pretty sure this is influenced by maths, and the whole infidelity thing, keeping the couples in, mixing it all up and stuff. So yeah, just really keen to get into the next one.
No, good stuff. I can't disagree with that one. If you want to email us, guys, cdrealitycast@gmail.com. If you want to follow us on social media @cdrealitycast, please go to Facebook, Chris and Dave's Reality TV Cast. And if you do get time, please can you go on your podcast catching app and just drop us a review on the show. Good, bad, indifferent. It doesn't matter. We read them all out. We always laugh about the ones where we get 1 out of 5. They're always good fun. So please get over to whichever podcast hosting app you have. And if you can just drop us a review, we really appreciate it. As always, if you want to support us a little bit more, please get over to patreon.com/CD Realitycast. So today's roll call of honor is Larissa, Helen, Alex, Macy, Nicola, Emma, Fiona, Cassie, Megan, Kate, Maggie, Kristen, Zoe, Gillian, Keith, Helen, Brianna, Chloe, Noreen, Joanna, Libby, Katie, Dee Dee, Susan, Hennessy, Lauren, Lucky Lulu Green, and Kent Gustafson. So thank you so much. I've said his name so many times. Sorry, Kent. How I got that tongue tied, I don't know. But thank you so much, everybody who supports the podcast. We really, really appreciate it.
No, that's amazing, mate. And so thank you very much, sir. Thanks for talking. Thanks to everyone out there for listening. Thanks to everyone for supporting. And we'll speak to you next time.
Bye.